guys? Mindworry here, or Christian, and today we have week 2 of the GPC. Now this week we play the Texas Savage Tauros, coached by Nacho, or also known as the best team in the league, or in our division. Now, we lost last game, very close 2-0 against Pierre, and now going against Nacho this week, it's scary. He's one of the best teams in the league. It's going to be a tough uphill battle. And he got a 6-0 last week, so kind of hoping that doesn't happen. So I'm just going to break down the team that I'm bringing. It's more of a basic-ish team compared to last week's. So you have the Assault Vest Sylveon to tank any special hit, especially with that Mega Altaria, because I'm assuming he's going to run a special variant because the Cofagrigus and some of my other physical threats like Heatran that can wall it easily. Then I'm bringing the Sneasel for the first time, running the Ice Shard, Ice Skull Crash, Knockoff, and Brick Break. Brick Break for any screens he wants to pull, and just for fighting stab that he could possibly bring. Again, attack, speed fully, a little bit in special defense, so pretty standard at the moment. Then Mega Sceptile, of course, rocking the Leaf Storm and Giga Drain, so I have 2 Grass Stab without destroying my special attack. Focus Blast and Hidden Power Ice for the Mega Altaria and some other, and for if he does bring the Roserade. And again, max speed, max special attack. Now we have the Cofagrigus holding the leftovers, and this thing is pretty much to wall the Excadrill and the Infernape, and even the Braviary, especially with running the Will-O-Wisp and the Pain Split, so it can get back HP, especially from mons that don't want to die, like Vaporeon and Hippowdon. Bleh. And so, it's a defensive nature, 180 in defense, 248 in HP, and a little bit in special attack, so Shadow Ball does do a lot, and Destiny Bond also just as a support, just in case. Then, of course, the Swampert with leftovers. I'm running a more physically bulky set this time with the Stealth Rocks and Roar, and then, of course, the Earthquake and Waterfall for the Infernape, the Excadrill, the Jolteon, stuff like that. And it has 144 in HP and full defensive, so it can live a defensive hit, and a little bit in attack, so it can still do a lot of damage. And then finally, Life Orb Thundurus with knockoff, nasty plot. I have the opportunity to set up if I need to, Thunderbolt and Hidden Power Grass to take on some like Hippowdon and Vaporeon, and even Frogadier if he does choose to bring it. And of course, full special attack, full speed. So, I'm predicting him to bring the Mega Altaria, the Excadrill, the Hippowdon, Roserade, Bronzong, and Braviary. That's kind of like what I prepared for with this team, the main threats, but I did build around just in case if he wants to bring the Jolteon, or if he wants to bring the Infernape or the Reuniclus in some senses. So I think this was the best team I could have built to counter a majority of his team. So we're going to get into the battle, and let's see what happens. Alright, I'm back. I just had my match with Nacho, and I'm just going to break it down pretty much of just what happened in the battle. So, as you see here, he does have the Altaria, the Bronzong, and the Excadrill. What I didn't expect him to bring was the Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Reuniclus. But that's okay. He leads off with the Altaria, as I lead off with the Sylveon. So he does switch out because he does not want to be hit by a Hyper Voice, so I just go for the safe play, not making any first turn predictions. Of course, goes into Excadrill to wall it, and then he goes back into the Altaria on my switch in the Swampert. So, playing a little mind games, he does get the Mega Evolution off, and the Hyper Voice does a lot of damage. I just wanted to really get off my rocks, that was the big thing. And so, I know I can probably live a hit because it's Assault Vest, Sylveon, but he doesn't really take the Hyper Voice as well as I have hoped. So, of course, the switch most likely in the he goes into the Bronzong again. So, High Voice doesn't do it. I carried the Hidden Power Fire just for these things, just in case this would happen. So I go for the Shadow Ball instead, because it did more damage, it was super effective, so why not? It didn't do the damage I really wanted, and I know this thing can do a lot of damage to Gyro Ball. So I switched into the Swampert, which is just as slow, but he switches back into the Excadrill, which is kind of scary. But predicting me to switch, he goes into the Vaporeon, but I go for the Earthquake, just to get some damage off on it, just in case he did predict me to switch into the Sylveon. So he goes for the Wish, I go for the Roar, and he switches, and of course it gets out to the Excadrill, of course. So I predict him to switch out into the Altaria, and so I just go for the safe Earthquake. This is a lot of damage, but of course the Wish gets him up fully. Now, there's really no good switching, so I just wanted to just stay in and get off a nice Earthquake just to get the damage off, because it was too risky to switch into Sylveon because it's my win condition for a lot of ways. Now, this is my other win condition, is the Sneasel. So as I go for the Icicle Crash, he does switch into Vaporeon. I could have predicted that. And then I go for the knockoff, and I realize he has no item. So I don't know if that was a mistake on his part, but it probably wasn't just for the knockoff on Sylveon, so it didn't do that much damage. So of course goes for attack. I should have switched into the Sceptile at that point, but that's what I do right now. Switch into the Sceptile. Doesn't get the burn like last game, which is good. But I can get the Mega Evolution off, which is fantastic. And I go for the Hidden Power. It's Hidden Power Ice. Didn't do that much. Didn't carry a Dark Stab this game. So I switched into the Thundurus, because it does have knockoff. He does miss the Toxic, which is great. So I can get off a nice knockoff and get the KO on this thing. So that's one big wall down. That's a Steel type. So Sylveon can do a lot of work. Now this thing does outspeed me, and it has the Hidden Power Ice. So I just go for the knockoff to get whatever item off, and it's leftovers, which is interesting. So I just sack off the Thundurus, because nothing I really want to switch into a Jolteon. Now here's the misplay that pretty much cost me the game. Now, just knocking off the leftovers, I didn't think how bulky this thing would be, and I didn't run any calculations to test it. So, I remember that although Giga Drain is stab and its special attack is ridiculous, this thing most likely is invested in special defense. And I didn't really realize that at the time. So I thought, oh, high special attack, Hidden Power Ice is going to take this thing out, because Giga Drain's not very effective, not going to KO. But I ran the calcs after, and you'll see. I go for the Hidden Power Ice, it lives, and it takes me out with the Hidden Power Ice, right back, gets the crit didn't matter. But the Giga Drain I tested later, and it would have killed with the investments that it did have. Now, I didn't want to go for the Leaf Storm because it would have been a waste, would have to switch out. But this misplay cost me my Sceptile, which was my check for not only the Vaporeon, but the Hidden Power Ice for the Altaria, and the Leaf Storm for the Excadrill. So I pretty much just lost my win condition. And so now I have to play catch-up. And this is where the battle gets scary. So I switch into Sneasel because I can just go for the safe Ice Shard, or I go for the knockoff because I knew I can outspeed because of its defensive investment. So now we get the Vaporeon. I switch out because I know knockoff won't do anything. I switch into the Sylveon because he really can't do anything to my Sylveon. So he gets the Wish Up, gets the switch again. Should have went for the Hidden Power Fire, but I go for the safe Hyper Voice just in case he wanted to go into the Altaria. Not my smartest move. And so I can't stay in on this thing. I have to go into my defensive wall and Cofagrigus. The Earthquake does it not that much, which is perfect. But he switches into the Altaria, which definitely walls this thing. And stupidly, I go for the Pain Split instead of going for the Will-O-Wisp to get off damage. Now, I'm not switching in the Sylveon, so I just have to sack this thing off at this point. I go for the Icicle Crash to take this Altaria out. So 2 kills for Sneasel this game. So he goes into the Vaporeon. I get the knockoff off, doesn't kill. Goes for the Scald, I have to sack off Sneasel, nothing I can do. I go into the Sylveon, the Vaporeon does outspeed me. I go for the Hyper Voice just to take it out. And of course, he's going to switch into the Excadrill, and he's going to go for the Iron Head, and he's going to take me out. So, a very close 2-0. All the props go to Nacho, an amazing player, has one of the best teams in the entire league, and especially in our division, now 2-0, and we fall to 0-2. Now, this is not the most ideal way I wanted to start the season. 0-2, our differential's only -4. It could be worse. Our teams have been 6-0'd in our league this week and last week. So, we still have a chance in our division. Being 0-2 doesn't put us... It puts us low, but there is still a chance to come back. There's still 5 more weeks to go. We got the 2 hardest games out of the way in the first 2 weeks. So, now this is when we start picking things up. That Giga Drain, that was a stupid play on my part. I should have calced it out. I take all the blame for that. There was no hacks in this, nothing that stood out. It was just a good mind game match. There were some predictions I should have made that I didn't. There were some mistakes that I made that I shouldn't have. And that just comes with learning the format. We're going to have mistakes like this. I'm not denying that we're going to be perfect. We're going to go 7-0 our first season, beat all these great teams. I expected there to be bumps in the road, and this is one of them. This was a very, very tough team to play, and I think we handled it very well. Yes, we lost, but we only lost 2-0. The other team he played, he 6-0'd them. I think this was a closer match, and although it's, again, the same differential as our match with Pierre, this was a fantastic battle. Yes, again, we were on the losing end, but there is still a hope for your New Jersey Jumpluffs. We will. My goal is to at least be 2-2 to win our next 2 games before the tournament break, and I think we can do it. I think we can finish off the season 5-2. We have a very good team. We have a very good shot, and we will make the playoffs. I promise you that. So, that's the end of the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this content, and if you enjoyed the battle. I will have the GPC and all Nacho's information down in the description. Go check him out. He's a great content creator. He is a great battler, as you saw in this match. And so, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week for week 3 when we take on Swallow FC or David in next week's battle, and we will come out with a win. This is our chance, and we're going to take our first step into making the playoffs in our first year. So I hope you enjoyed the battle. See you next time.